We're still in the early parts of the college hockey season, and Big Ten conference play has only just begun for the Penn State Nittany Lions. Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Anthony Desher alongside Josh Bartosik and Adrianna Gallucci, and we're here to catch you up on all things Penn State hockey. Penn State got off to an historic program start, 9-0, and they welcomed the Michigan Wolverines into the Pegula Arena this last weekend. Adrianna, what are your thoughts on the series?
I think that the one takeaway that you can have from this Penn State series was just electric. This was the first time in program history that they had upset the number one team, that team being Michigan. And game one was a 3-0 win. Tor Linden, Xander Lampa, and Ashton Calder all scoring for the Nittany Lions. As well, Linden as well having 17 face-off wins. Liam Soulier was just great in the goal that game, having 17 saves in the first game. Also the first time in program history they had back-to-back shutouts. So that's a testament to the goaltending as well. Game two, unfortunately, was a 4-3 loss in overtime, but there were 3 goals scored in under 5 minutes. Adam Fantilli and Luke Hughes coming in from Michigan, these were the big players that everybody was talking about, but unfortunately, they got held very, very little by the Penn State Nittany Lions. The only stat that Hughes was able to punch in was just 1 assist in game two. So I think that just the energy in Pegula and the drive that the student section had, that Coach Guy Gadowski even mentioned in his press conference, I think that was the one real takeaway for Penn State.
I mean, yeah, you mentioned the crowd a lot, and you kind of have to mention that crowd because Game one was the second most fans that Pegula has ever hosted, 6,445. But it sounded like 60,000 in that arena. It was absolutely electric. You could just feel the energy in every part of the game. And Penn State really fed off the energy. They dominated in every facet of the game, face-offs, offense, shooting, goals, everything. They looked like the much more dominant team. It led to Michigan's head coach, Brendan Naruto, saying after the game that Penn State won every race and battle. And that's exactly what they did, and they fed off that crowd. I think my ears are still ringing a little bit from game one and game two. And then going into game two, you mentioned how Michigan came out to a much faster start, which they did. You knew they would do that. They're the number one team in the nation. They're going to come back with some force. But Penn State had a phenomenal 4-minute stretch where they scored 3 goals, like you mentioned. It was absolutely electric in that arena. It got even louder than it did in game one when they scored that third and final goal. And to come out of that series with 4 out of 6 possible points is an absolute win for the Nittany Lions. I think you could ask anyone on that team, and they would be absolutely thrilled to find out that they almost swept the Michigan Wolverines.
Yeah, Pegula was rocking the Roar Zone. Great student section. My ears are ringing as well. Just everyone was having such a good time, and when you can take 4 or 6 points from a rank 1 team and a highly offensive, talented team to just 2 points out of the possible 6, it's a really good weekend for a team that needs to get on that radar. And now they're ranked number 8 in the polls, and they have put themselves on the map. But now they have yet another test. They have the Minnesota Golden Gophers, a team that is now ranked 1 after Michigan just fell. And Josh, the Nittany Lions, Golden Gophers, both animals. It's going to be an absolute zoo on the ice. What do you got for me?
I like that little pun you got there, nice. Going to Minnesota, one of the greatest places that you'll ever be able to play hockey, the state of hockey, in fact. For a lot of this Golden Gophers team is very hard to judge. They swept Notre Dame. They split a series with Minnesota State, who at the time was number 2. But then they split with Ohio State, who almost lost to Mercyhurst and a bunch of other lower-level teams. So they're a really hard team to gauge. But for the Nittany Lions, they're going to have to keep playing the exact same way they did in that Michigan series. And it's going to rely a lot on that line of Xander Lampa, Christian Sarlo, and Tyler Paquette. Those 3 have been the best line by far in Big Ten conference play. Xander Lampa is having his most incredible stretch of Big Ten hockey. It's a 3-game goal streak, which in that turn has now given him his new career high in goals. He's also been a monster in the faceoff circle. He just moved from the wing to center this season and has been doing a really remarkable job. He's impressed everyone on the team, even potentially replacing Chase McLean's spot when he comes back from injury. And then on the back end, you have to do the exact same thing that Liam Soulier has been doing, which is stopping the puck when he needs to. He had a kind of bit of a rough game too, but you're playing so much NHL talent, it's pretty easy to let in a couple of goals. But he was really, really solid in game one, and the entirety of the Wisconsin series has been one of the biggest surprises and best goaltenders in the league by far this season. I think he can easily do that again. And then going on to special teams, the one thing that the Nittany Lions really need to work on is their power play. It's been absolutely abysmal these last few weeks. 1 for 16 in the last 4 games. Did not score a single power play goal against Michigan. We're lucky to come away with the win in game one. They won the penalty battle, but they had a couple of chances where they could have really put the game out of reach. Had some chances in game two on a 5-on-3 to get some goals, and they just couldn't get it going. Yes, they came back and tied the game, but they still didn't end up with the win. So it's going to rely a lot on that second line that involves Xander Lampa, and a lot on that special teams becoming actually special and not being so stagnant.
I agree with you. I think the mentality going into Minnesota is playing the exact same way you came into the series with Michigan. Penn State needs to play physical. They need to play close to the boards. They need to prepare to just sort of be all over the place on the ice. They need to, whatever Minnesota throws at Penn State needs to be able to come back and have a response. I think when you have players like Logan Cooley, who is a third overall pick for the Arizona Coyotes, when you're playing against professional talent, you need to bring professional talent as well. So I think as long as they stay physical and they want to win it, they have a chance, again, to beat the #1 team in the country. So I think as long as they come in with that mentality, we'll see how it goes in Minnesota, but it should be a pretty good series.
Yeah, it's in Minnesota, so no RAR zone this time, and the Golden Gophers are a very good team, well-rounded all around. The offense, defense, all very well balanced, and Penn State just needs to work on that special teams to do it. And maybe the Penn State Nittany Lions can make those Golden Gophers not so golden. Penn State will certainly have its handful this weekend against the Minnesota Golden Gophers, but let's see if they have proved in the past that they can compete with the best. As college hockey continues, the stakes are only getting higher. That will do it for this edition of Penn State Sports Night with Adrianna Gallucci and Josh Bartosik. I'm Anthony Desher. Thank you for watching this edition, and have a great rest of your night.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into this edition of Penn State Sports Night. We hope you liked that segment.
And we're sure there's other Penn State Sports Night segments that you are going to love as well. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content.
And check us out on social media for updates and behind-the-scenes clips and pics. Follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action.
For all of us here at the Belisari Media Center, we are
Penn State Sports Night.